Good Monday morning to you. Hope you found yourself having a great weekend. Hope so far Monday's been great too. There's no such thing as the Monday blues, you guys. That's a mood you embrace. So don't hug the Monday blues today. There's nothing different today than there was when you went to sleep last night on Sunday night, right? God's still there. He's still giving us his peace. He still loves us, his mercy, his grace. Nothing changed overnight. You just don't want to get up and go to work. I get that. Right. So don't embrace the Monday blues. Embrace the God can do's. How's that for a little silly cliche rhyme to say for the day? Don't embrace the Monday blues. Embrace the God can do's because he's got us. He's got us. I mean, my thoughts as usual are all over the place. But when I woke up this morning, I thought of this part of the Lord's Prayer that says, it's verse 11, give us this day our daily bread. And that was my meditation this morning. Now, I did a whole bunch of studying around that and a whole lot of, I guess I would call it meditating, but thinking about different ways that I saw him provide daily bread for those in the scriptures, those stories we love, right? And so I started thinking about it, give us this day our daily bread. What does that even mean? Now, well, back then their main sustenance was bread. They also had meat, but they also didn't have a refrigerator. They couldn't store things up. I made some Spanish rice yesterday. I just had a big bowl of it for breakfast, actually, because I didn't want to wait till after this to have my breakfast. So, and then I got another bowl of it in the fridge for tomorrow. I used some of it to make some meals for Chris and put them in the fridge, but they didn't have a fridge. They needed to know that that sustenance was going to come every single day. I got a cabinet full of stuff I can go pull out and create something. It may not be what I necessarily want or have a taste for, but I got lots of options. They didn't have that many options. This was their complete sustenance, not just a piece of bread. Now we read the scripture a lot in let me see if it's second, I think it's Second Peter, where it says he's given us everything we need for life and godliness. And we've said, or I've said, the thing about that is that he gives us everything we need for our natural life and everything we need for our physical life, for our spiritual life. He's given us everything we need for life and godliness. Yeah, Second Peter 1, 3. His divine power has given us all things that pertain to life and godliness through our knowledge of him. So he doesn't just drop it down on us. We have to grow in our knowledge of him, right? And if God gives us daily bread, like he gave manna in the wilderness, they had to eat it. It didn't go into their being and sustain them for the journey. They had to pick up what they needed for a day and eat it, and then pick up what they needed for the next day. He didn't want them to carry the extra stuff around. He provided just what they needed at just the moment they needed it. Right? So I was thinking about some of that. I was like, what does that mean? If God gives us the bread we need today, what do we need today? What do you need today? What do I need today? You know, uh, can we? Sometimes we need the trial. Ooh, that sounded horrible, didn't it? Sometimes we need the trials. Why? Well, because the trying of our faith not only is more precious than gold, it purifies us, but it helps us know how much we trust Him. Peter had to have trusted Jesus a lot to jump out of that boat, right? He said, "If it's you, God, if it's you, Jesus, tell me to come, and I'm on my way." And Jesus says, "Come on, Peter." Peter had to have really trusted Jesus. They had a relationship. He had to have truly trusted Jesus to jump out of the boat in the middle of the storm and head across the water. Now we like to give him a hard time and go, well, he got his eyes off of Jesus and started looking at the storm and he started to sink. Well, that don't mean you got to do it that way. But he still got out the boat, right? He still jumped out of the boat because he trusted Jesus. And so sometimes we're in things, in boats that we don't, maybe we're in a boat we don't need to be in. I get myself in those kind of binds a lot, right? Maybe we're in a boat that's going the wrong direction and we need to get out of the boat, right? Maybe, now they were going the right direction. Jesus sent them into the storm, but that storm tested whether Peter trusted Jesus or not. So it came out to be a good thing. And look at this example we have. And then, of course, when Peter did fall, Jesus didn't go, "Oh, you blew it. Now we're going to have to write that in the Bible." No. What did Jesus do when Peter fell? He gave him what he needed for life and godliness. He reached his hand out, he picked him up, he put him in a boat, calmed the storm, and they went to the other side. He gave him what he needed. That was his daily bread, so to speak. But Peter needed that trial. Peter needed to know. He needed that storm. The disciples needed that storm so that they could trust God more, so that they could see, oh, I don't, the other disciples, there was 11 other disciples in that boat that said, you go ahead, Peter, I got your back, and we'll be right here waiting when you get back, right? There's 11 other people that didn't jump out of the boat. They didn't even jump out of the boat when they saw Peter walking on the water. They didn't say anything to Jesus when he came to them. They were really scared, right? It showed them their level of fear. It showed them their level of trust. So maybe it's the trial we need today to show us, hey, I trust God more today than I did when this type of thing happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last week, 5 minutes ago, right? Those trials, we can embrace our trials. We can embrace the bumps. We can even embrace the fires and the storms and the floods and the hard stuff that comes at us because it's going to purify our trust, purify our faith. And we get what we need for the day. We get what we need for life or godliness. We get that spiritual bread, the natural bread. It kind of covers it all. He sustains, he's the keeper, it says in Psalms, the keeper and sustainer of our soul. Well, that bread to them in their culture was sustenance. If you remember the little boy's lunch, he had bread and fish. I bet that fish was nasty, though, after he carried it in his lunch all day. That's really kind of great. I hope he was planning on building a fire. Anyway, so he gives us what we need, right? Whatever we need. Well, that bread to them represented sustenance. You think about the manna in the wilderness. What is it? But it was their sustenance. They rained manna on them the whole time they were in the wilderness. The whole time. Manna rained on them, every single morning. On Friday nights, they got twice as much because they didn't go out and work on the Sabbath. And when Elijah, during the middle of a real bad famine, God sent him to a brook. What did the raven deliver? Meat and bread. Bread to them and to us represents sustenance, but God has our daily bread, which is our spiritual food, our spiritual sustenance, and our natural stuff. He's going to take care of our whole being. He doesn't say, well, okay, I got you saved, and so you're on your own. You're good. We got it. Okay, get another one. The whole point of knowing God isn't just getting saved. Now, that's important to come to that point where I say, okay, God, I love you. I trust you. I accept your love. That's mature love, perfect love, which casts out fear. We don't have to fear the end times. We don't have to fear death. We don't have to fear hell. But the whole point isn't just getting saved, because if it was just to get saved, we would get saved and then we would just go die and go be with Jesus, if that was the point. The point is, even after salvation, to learn to trust him more. The point is relationship. And the children of Israel, they didn't handle it quite like maybe they should have. They were whiny crybabies a lot because they'd been in bondage for so many years. They didn't even know how to think. And so God took those years in the wilderness to work that slave mentality out of them. Because even when a slave goes free, they can be bound by the things that happened. Today we would call it post-traumatic stress. Think about that. Moses had 1 million people following him that had post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD, right? They definitely, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what it is. Anyway, but they had PTSD. They had lived their whole lives in bondage. And sometimes I look up when I start seeing the vastness of God's peace, the vastness of his just passion to know me, passion to know you. And I think, man, that is just overwhelming. And it's hard to break off the other things I've been taught by life itself. But we can do it because it's all about that relationship, our daily sustenance, what we need for today, right? That's our peace. It can be rest for our souls, even if our bodies are busy. It can be wisdom. It can be healing of our souls, be healing of our emotions. It can just be knowing that we're loved. It can be his presence. It can be the trial that maybe, like I said, that may be what we need today. If there hadn't been a storm, we wouldn't have known it was possible to walk on water. You see, right there in the middle of a hard situation, dark night, they didn't have flashlights, y'all. I have a flashlight here. I pulled out this morning. I got to get some batteries for it. They didn't have a flashlight, but Jesus came walking to them on the water, in the dark, in the storm. So we would know that what looked dark, what looked dooming, what looked impossible and impassable was actually possible. Right in the middle of a dark storm, there was faith, there was joy, there was peace, and then the trial helps us know how much we trust Him today. So give us this day our daily bread. Manna, what is it? What is our daily bread today? What do I need today? We have to trust God today that He's going to give us just what we need to survive physically and spiritually. Can you trust Him for that today? Because if you do, you can peace out. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.